And welcome to Boots on the Ground Radio, where you are here with Be a Boss, Data Boss, only on the Boots on the Ground radio station, the platform for success on all contracting, not only the green industry, but construction industry, service industry, and everybody out there working hard. We're trying to put food on the table and money in the bank. I got my partner in crime, Miss Jennifer Bodford.
Hey, everybody.
And welcome to the show. This is the last Monday night. The last Monday night in October. And what do you feel about that, Jennifer?
This year has just went by so fast. Like, where did it go? It
is gone by way too fast. And guys, she's trying to get the Facebook Live going up, and
I'm not getting it to work correctly.
You're not.
There we go. That's better.
So if you want to do it, oops.
Oh, that's what was.
That's the problem.
There we go.
Oh, yeah.
Technical difficulties over here.
A little bit.
This is what happens when you go to dinner with the crew and you're rushing home to try to get here on time to get live.
But we
made it. We made it.
I know. But you know what? We, our families are good together.
They are. Our kids get along. We have a good time. It's great. I enjoy having dinner with everybody.
That's true. Blind me with those spotlights.
I'm just trying to light it up a little bit so we not look so dark on Facebook, because I'm getting ready to go live and we looked kind of dark.
There we go. It's from working outside, babe.
Yeah. If you say so.
Oh my goodness.
So what should we name our post?
Be a Boss, Data Boss. That's the name of the show.
There we go. Be a Boss. Don't you love the autocorrect though on I don't know how it is on Android, but on Apple, because I do it all the time. I will text something to you and I know I typed the right word, but as soon as I hit send, it sends a completely different word. I'm like, that is not what I said.
It's like Brent a while ago. My brother was texting me, and he called me Mark, and I knew he was probably using, like, voice to text or whatever.
Yeah, because sometimes when I type Jaden, my youngest son, type his name into a field, and I go to send it, it corrects it to Hayden with an H. Yeah. I told Jaden, I said, well, I guess I just need to rename you. Name you Hayden instead of Jaden.
Hey, Russ, if you're listening, we got the check from Village of Robin Hood. So, thank God. Praise the Lord.
You know, it was funny because we pulled up to the mailbox and said, babe, you want me to pray over it? He was like, yes, pray over it. So I literally prayed and told God, I said, Lord, please let that check be sitting here when we open the door, because we're going to thank you and praise you for all that you do when we get this check.
Oh,
and
my
there
goodness.
It was.
Yes.
There it was.
And another reason we're logging in late is because I'm like, I've got to get that deposited before it's either 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock that at least part of it will go in tonight based on it. So thank you, Lord. Thank you, Jesus. Now payroll is covered.
Well, and that's always a good feeling to know that you've got money in the bank and be able to do what you need to do. I mean, that's why we do what we do, right? It's why you go to work, to get a paycheck.
It is. But as business owners, those paychecks for yourself are far few in between. Which is okay. It's what it's about. So
we are Facebook Live. I've got us going.
That's
it's
right.
going. Yeah. So whenever somebody pops up, this is our first time doing this. So if there's a chat option and people try to chat, that's going to be interesting. You have your phone, so you should be able to open up Facebook on your phone and respond to messages as we're on air.
Yeah, look at it.
Yeah, so there we are. So if somebody comments, just know that we're a few seconds ahead. So if you comment, it may take us a few seconds before we actually see the comment, and then we can respond to your comment. But just be aware, we are, what is it, about 14 seconds ahead.
Yeah. On the
live radio. And I'm not sure about Facebook, but I do know that there is a little bit of a delay on Facebook. So if there are comments that come in, just be patient with us. It might take us a hot minute. So leave your Facebook open, so if comments come in, we can actually comment on it. Because it's going to be hard for me to reach up here and try to comment. But
True. There's 3 people watching, so.
I know. I wonder who they are. Let's see if Facebook will tell me who they are. Your viewers. Well, since it's on my page, it may not tell me who they are. It might be on Boots on Ground. You might want to log into Boots on Ground and see if it's somebody from there.
Now there's only 2. We must have
scared them away.
We spooked them. You
might want to share it. See if it. I tagged you.
You do it. I just let you do all the Facebook
social
stuff.
media guru over here.
Yeah, you know, and I used to be so big on the social media, but like ever since, you know, you and I became a couple, I'm like, I'm just turning it over to you. Like, I don't even want to do it. And I have slowed down tremendously when it comes to being on Facebook.
Well, there we are. So I've got us live on Facebook. Yeah. I've got us live on Boots on Ground.
Yeah.
So if somebody comments, we can respond to the messages. Yeah. So there we are. It's ready to go. So how's that? Look at us.
Hey, smarty.
Girl. We might actually look like we know what we're doing.
We're trying.
We do. We give it the best we got, right?
Yes. And you know, for the last Monday in October, it is sure making it's making its presence known. Today was a Monday of all Mondays. So
it was. Looks like I've got some friends watching on my page. So let's see. I'm gonna call you out. Darian, I work with him at my job. I see Darian. Hi, Darian. Amanda Davis.
I work with Amanda at Forsyth Tech.
There you go. Treva Groves. So there's a couple people that's on here. So if I mention your name, hello. It's good to see you guys. Hello from Boots on Ground Radio. Be a boss. Data boss. That's
true. And so this is our 4th episode. This is our 4th podcast, and we've got some editing to do to get them out onto the platforms. And so I'm going to try to stay up tonight and get that done. But you know, we started 2 weeks prior to Equip Expo with the radio station, and we did.
This is our third week together doing this. This will be our 3rd podcast, I believe.
4th.
Is it really our 4th?
Yes.
Why am I so terrible with numbers today? Because I'm usually pretty spot on.
Well, it's because
maybe it was because we were going to Kentucky. It kind of threw me off that week.
Yeah. The Monday night before Kentucky was our 2nd.
Yeah.
And then we did it last Monday, and so tonight is the 4th.
Tonight is our 4th. So happy 4 weeks.
Yeah, and we got to pay those toll tickets.
I know. I've got them. Actually, I've got them right here. I stuck them in my notebook so I could remember to pay them.
All the toll roads through West Virginia.
And our notebook, I keep a notebook when I write little notes and stuff down so we can go back and touch on that.
That's true. That's true.
So how was your Monday?
You already know.
I do know, but our friends don't know. Yeah. So how was your Monday?
Yeah. Mondays, you know, and guys, don't get me wrong. I absolutely love a Monday. It's a new week, new start, new everything. But, you know, having class all day, we had a 4-hour lab this morning, and 4 hours straight is tough, especially when we're collecting plant materials and doing all that. So it was a little stressful, but we got through it, you know, then got to hang out with you, and, you know, we went and did our early voting, and unfortunately, you know, they wouldn't let a Davie County girl vote in Forsyth County. And that was my fault. That was my fault.
And maybe I should have been more aware or more educated on the voting restrictions. You know, I too thought because it was early voting that you could
go
vote
anywhere,
but apparently it's anywhere in your county. So that was an important piece of the fact that we were missing. So now my son and I are going to have to go to to my town Friday. We could go any night this week, but because I work late Tuesday and Wednesdays, and then Thursdays, he's got planned Thursdays. So,
well, so do we.
Yeah, so we're gonna. Yeah, Thursday's Halloween.
Yeah.
So not voting on Halloween.
No.
But we'll go vote Friday.
Gotcha.
It's just right up the road from my
Yeah,
house.
true. Right across from Justin Drawin's house.
Yeah. Where I hear there's a big old
Partay.
Halloween party on Thursday night that we're gonna try to go say hello. There's several people watching. So
Danny Lanier. Look at Danny Lanier.
Jaden is on here. Hey, Jaden. We've got several watching. Hey, guys. Welcome to Boots on Ground Radio, where you get to listen to Eric and I
every Monday night
discuss life and business and relationships on Be a Boss, Date a Boss.
Yes, and we both have full-time jobs. I'm full-time instructor at the college, department chair. You're full-time running your thing for Hair Club, and then we run 2 businesses outside of that. So,
I don't think I've ever told what I really do on
you
air.
haven't.
I haven't until tonight. You mentioned. Okay. So what I do is I run a center for Hair Club. And some of you, if you're aware of Hair Club back in the 70s and 80s, it was known as Hair Club for Men. Mm-hmm. Well, we took the for men part off because now we do hair replacement for men, women,
and children.
And that's what a lot of people don't know is Hair Club gives back to the community for children who have diagnosed diseases that causes hair loss. And there's several of those. Some of those are anxiety related, like trichotillomania, where you pull your hair out because of anxiety. We've got kids that have had cancer, or they were born with what we call universal totalis, which means they were born without any hair on their body. So, young kids in school, and I hate to say it, kids can be ruthless. I mean, they really can. Now, I'm not saying all kids. There are just some kids that can just be ruthless and pick and bully. I mean, we all have heard about bullying. So I've got in my center, I've got several kids that come to my center and they get free hair. They get to wear hair. And so we work with these kids. But we are a non-surgical hair replacement. Everything we do is non-surgical. So what I do is I run the center for Winston-Salem. So North Carolina only has 3 centers. We've got one in Charlotte, one in Raleigh, and then the one in Winston. And so I run the one in Winston, or manage the one in Winston. And I've got an amazing team. And we specialize in hair loss restoration. And my staff is multifaceted. So I've got hairstylists, licensed North Carolina hairstylists that they're licensed to do their job as a cosmetologist. And then there's me, I'm the business side of it. And then I've got front desk girl. Some of our bigger centers, there's a little bit more jobs in the bigger centers because they're bigger and, need those positions. And then, of course, our home office is in Boca Raton, Florida. So that's the main Hair Club office. We are owned by a Japanese company, and Bosley, which is the company that does the hair replacement surgeries, which is the follicular implants. That's done in North Carolina at the Raleigh Center for Bosley. So my center does not do the surgical side. We are non-surgical. So that's the business I get to run. I love what I do. I get to help people get their self-esteem back. I get to help people get their hair back, and that's a big deal. I work with all facets of people, men and women and children, and lots of different things that can affect hair loss, and I won't get into all that. It can be a total science conversation behind it, but I love what I do because I get to work with people, and not only do I get to work with people, I get to help build their self-esteem back and give them their hair back. And I tell you, the before and afters when somebody comes in without hair, and we either help them regrow hair, or they have surgery and get do the follicular implants, and we're helping maintain that, stabilize that hair loss, or we give them hair. And there's several things that we do there, but I get to watch the before and afters and get to help change lives, and that's important. And it's the same way in the landscaping contracting world. You're changing literally the landscape of that property. And it's funny because I do hair, so for me, the landscape is the scalp, the head. You know, I'm cutting hair, and I told you this. It's like cutting hair is like cutting the grass. Like I'm looking for all the, making sure everything's even.
And of course you didn't listen to the show this morning with Russ and I.
No, because
Dr.
I was
Owens.
snoozing. It was my day off.
We were talking about pruning being an art and a science and how it needs to be done. And so, yes, it's very, very similar to
it is
a head of a hair.
It is. It truly is an art because you are creating a landscape. You're creating not just that's you and I you said this to me earlier that landscaping is not about just cutting grass. It's a whole art to landscape. And you and I love the Biltmore. I absolutely love the Biltmore. The Biltmore has been affected by the hurricane.
Opens back up November 2nd.
November 2nd. Somebody, Ted Lemons, hi Ted, one of my friends, says, come give my lawn a landscape, LOL. Hey, you know what? But that's true. I think they just moved into a new house or something.
Oh, cool.
So homes need a landscape. They move in and they don't have anything on there. And there was somebody else that commented a minute ago, and I'm sorry, who was it? Who did we pass? I think it was Danny. Oh, he said the Danny Lanier. There you go.
Danny.
Well, shout out to the Danny Lanier.
Yeah.
I don't think I haven't met you yet. So,
but we talked to him for like an hour on the way up to
we did on the
Kentucky.
radio, not on the radio, but on the phone. It was on the radio in the truck because it's Bluetooth.
We were trying to get him to come to Kentucky, but he just will not do that.
Well, hello to everybody that's watching. We're glad to have you on board. We're live on air, bootsongroundradio.com. And there's a link where it says listen live. You just click that link and you can listen to us live. We're also right now live on Facebook. It is on my personal page. It's on Eric's personal page, but it's also on the Boots on Ground Radio Facebook page, so you can watch us there too.
And the app should be finished, any day now. So we had to work some things out with Apple to make sure that it was going to work, on the iPhones. But you'll be able to download the Boots on Ground Radio app and listen all day long. And basically, while we're not live, we're replaying our show. We're replaying, Two Landscape Vets that Russ and I do every single morning, and then all the other shows that we have. It's just a repetitive thing. So, whether you're in the green industry, the construction industry, service industry, there's something for you. We got a poolscaper down in Dallas, Texas. The Deep End, that show plays repetitively. So, those guys are super cool if you're, running a pool business. And so, just got a lot of good stuff.
That's the Boots on Ground Radio. It's for anybody in the contracting. And if you look behind us, of course it's not showing the right way, but up here, the contractor and service industry. Yeah. So
a little bit better.
We've got our sign behind us and, so basically, business related, but particularly landscaping, service contracting. You are a general contractor. You have your general contractor license
and landscape contractor.
You build houses. I mean, what is there that you can't do, Mr. Jones? I mean, you are. Somebody asked me, well, what does he do for a living? I said, where do you want me to start?
Jack of all trades.
Yeah, I mean, you do
maybe
everything.
Master of none. No. I grew up in the green industry, so I was very fortunate to have the parents that I did that ran Elite Landscape Service and Nursery. They started it in 1977. I was born in 73. So from the time I was old enough to work after school, I was took to a job site. Yeah. Or I was in the nursery, planting, potting up plants, pulling weeds out of plants. I mean, we did it all. And, I'll have to admit, I didn't like the green industry growing up. I was like, I don't want to ever do this. But I'm so glad that I was able to do that now. It gave me the work ethic that I have. You see the work ethic, and your work ethic matches mine to a T. So that's why I think we get along so good. It's because we want nice things.
Well, yeah,
and we're proud to work and proud to be able to do what we can for our kids.
Right.
And
that's the key word, kids. We've got 5 children together, not 5 biologically, but your 3 girls and then my 2 boys, and they're all 17 and up. And,
Yes.
they're all on their way out, creating their own lives for themselves. They're on the verge of leaving the nest here in the next few years, and some a little bit closer than that. But you and I have had to work hard to provide things for our kids. And,
Yes.
Everything we do is for our kids. But we also work to give ourselves the things that we want. I mean, this world that we live in, high inflation, everything is so much more expensive, which services have become more expensive.
It is.
Even in my job, we've had to increase our prices and the pricing of our services, and it's the same with yours. And it's just unfortunate that we have to do that, but it's just become the nature of the beast right now. But we both work hard. Yeah. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of the man that you are, and I'm not going to get all ushy gushy mushy over here.
You can. I need that.
Some people are like, look at those two. They're just that's too strange. But no, but honestly, your work ethic impresses me. You get out there
Thanks
and
to
you
Mom and
just
Dad.
and your parents have instilled that. Like you said, you would leave school and be
Go
transported straight to a job site. Yeah. My mom, I'm gonna shout out my mom and my dad both. They were entrepreneurs too. My dad owned his own trucking business there for 30 years. Yep. My mom to this day still owns her own cleaning business, and she does both commercial and residential. And at one point they owned not just the commercial and residential cleaning services, but they also bought a carpet cleaning franchise where they cleaned carpets, hardwood, tile. They did upholstery. I mean, they done it all. So my mom and my dad got out of the trucking business there for a while and went into this cleaning industry with my mom because there was a lot of money to be made there, and they did really good. Yeah. But I remember as a kid, my mom would pick me up from school and I'd go clean with her. And sometimes in the evenings, she had commercial contracts that she would clean at night, and I'd have to go clean. Yeah. And I've said this on, I think last week, giving a little bit of my background. A couple of times I've talked about it. My parents are in the ministry. My dad's a pastor, and right now he's getting ready to start a brand new trucking ministry that's geared towards truckers that can't attend church. So they're going to provide a travel chapel. Yeah. And that's their thing right now. But, growing up in church, we were in church every time the doors were open. My mom cleaned the church. My dad preached and did different things. He didn't pastor a church that I grew up in, but he was one of the preachers that went there and worked a lot of behind the scenes preaching for different things that happened at the church. But we were busy. We were busy. They ran their businesses Monday through Friday, and then on Saturday was ministry related. Sunday was ministry related. So it was nonstop. I mean, I don't ever recall us coming home and just sitting around with nothing to do. We always had something to do.
It's like life now.
Yeah, I know. And I think that's why we work so well together, because we are used to that dynamic.
But now with church, you got up yesterday morning at like 5:30. You were at the church at like 7:30.
Yeah.
I came for the second service,
which is at
10:30. So you started your day at 5:30 on Sunday. We did not finish up eating lunch until 3:00. Yeah. So your entire Sunday is still devoted to church, and I love that about you. You're dedicated.
And unfortunately, I don't get to go to church on Wednesday nights at my church because I work till 7:30. Sometimes it's 8:00, depending on if a client runs late or whatever. Yeah. So I don't get to go on Wednesday nights, but Sundays I'm pretty dedicated. I am dedicated to my church and ministry there. But it's because I grew up in church, and I enjoy that. I work in the music side. I've been in music my whole life. I've sang in every facet. Yeah, went to school for it, sang in every facet available. I've often said that, if I could really go back and do what I really, really, really wanted to do, was to go to New York, go to school in New York and be on Broadway. Yeah. I would have. Could y'all see me on Broadway?
Well, you know what?
I mean, could you just imagine?
You know what Morgan Wallen says about Broadway girls?
No.
Leave them alone.
I was not one of those.
He's not talking about Broadway, New York. He's talking about Broadway downtown
Nashville. I know. I'm not one of them. No, but I would have, but what we're doing, and what I do in my job is still art form. I work with hair, and that's an art. You work with landscaping and general contracting. You work with architecture. You and I have talked about this stuff. We brought up Biltmore. Yep. We got sidetracked, or I chase squirrels, so a lot of times, you're going to watch me. I'm chasing little squirrels. But we were talking about the Biltmore and the landscaping there. There is an actual architectural, what was he called?
He was the landscape architect. Yeah, landscape architect.
And he's well known for everything he did there at the Biltmore. It's such a prestigious position. I mean, they literally have a painting of him hanging up in one of the rooms of the Biltmore.
Yeah,
because
and, he also did Central Park in New York City. Well, remember what was his name? We
looked his name up, and I used to know it, right offhand, but now I can't even remember. Anybody else on here watching know the landscape architect for the Biltmore? Does anybody know?
When I see
Eric is looking it up, so let's see if we can find it. I can't remember his name. Go, just type in. There you go. Type it in. Landscape architect Biltmore House.
Olmsted.
That's
Gosh,
it.
Why
can we not remember that?
He's the father of landscape architecture. Like he is the one that really made that
it's beautiful. I mean, the Biltmore, just I used to have season passes.
Yeah.
Which is funny because you and I love the Biltmore so much, and I had season passes. I'd love to go go there and just be on the grounds. I mean, my goodness, I love to just go and park and just walk the grounds and just enjoy it.
And it was last Tuesday that it became available, or October 22nd. It was this Tuesday. No. Because the date's the 28th. It was last Tuesday night.
Yeah.
It was available for download, and we watched it. Was it Tuesday or Wednesday?
It was either Tuesday or I think it was Tuesday night because I came straight here from work. We cooked dinner, and somebody just sent a reaction. Wow. Send lots of those. That was really cool. How do you do that? Oh, look, I don't know who's doing it. Look, we've got fireworks behind us. Look at that. That is so cool.
That is cool.
So, we watched a Biltmore Christmas, and we just found out because I follow Biltmore on Facebook, but there's a page called Fans of Biltmore House, and they were showing pictures of the construction that they're doing right now because of the flood, and I was shocked at the water level at the guest entrance when you're coming through the Biltmore Village to go into the Biltmore. The water level on that building just shocked me.
Yep.
One of the guest service buildings that's right there at the entrance was totally destroyed, so they had to tear it down, and I think they're going to rebuild it, but I'm not sure. But they were out there doing, cleaning the grounds and trying to get all that ready. So, and they said Biltmore's going to be open November the 2nd. So
that's Saturday.
Yeah, that's hard to believe that November 2nd is Saturday. Where did this year go? My boys, Jared and Jaden both, have shared in their Facebook or their social media stories this little ticker comes across. The year has completed some percentage. And I think one he shared today was like 70-some%. I was like, I remember when New Year's Eve night happened, Jaden shared that the very next day that, 2024 was 1%. Well, now it's like 72-74%. I was like, where did this year go?
And New Year's Eve, I stayed home all alone watching a Biltmore Christmas because it was live on the channel, Hallmark channel.
I was sitting at the Waffle House with my two boys, and one of the boys had a girlfriend at the time, and us four were at the Waffle House at midnight eating at the Waffle House. That's how I brought in my New Year, was me and my kids and I was
on the couch with Shiloh. Girlfriend.
It's amazing what, life can change over the year. Just where I was this time last year,
life can change.
It can. And it changed for the positive, though. It changed for the positive, and I'm so thankful for all the changes that's come our way. It's been a good... It's been a bittersweet year, I guess is the best way to say it. Like, there's been some hard times, but I met you, and you and I mean, we'll be together 6 months.
Yeah, come November 2nd.
Come Saturday, the day Biltmore opens. How crazy is that? Look at that. The coincidence. That's crazy. But I had asked you earlier how your Monday went, and you were talking about school. So did anything exciting happen at school today?
No, but anytime I'm around plant materials. And so, we got to visit some gardens, collect plants, and, do our plant ID sheets and stuff like that. So, really the only way to learn plant materials is to get out, touch, feel, smell, and, repetitively. Mm-hmm. Like, you can't do it one time and remember that plant. We got to continuously, keep going back. But 4 hours of continuous lab
That's a long time.
That is a long time, and I do it 2 days a week for this particular class, and it gets a little stressful.
So how do you break up? Because I'm going to tell you, I have ADD. I have an adult version of ADD, and for me to sit in a classroom for 4 hours, I think I would die.
Well, we're not continuously in the classroom. Like for today, we didn't have a quiz today. We got a quiz coming up Wednesday. So typically there is a quiz like every day. So we do the quiz. We'll look at some slides of the plants. We'll talk about where they're located, and then we go and collect. So, we get to go to Tanglewood. We get to go to Renolda Village.
So y'all get to do field trips.
Yeah,
see, I would love that.
It's a lot of field trips. And it is fun. Like anytime you're around plants, it almost feels like you're on vacation.
Well, yeah, it's something about the oxygen that's coming off of the plants.
Yeah.
The photosynthesis stuff. I know nothing. I think what I'm learning from the turf teacher. Yeah, but I could see how that can.
It just, it is Mother Nature. Just to be a part of it, and some of the botanical gardens that we go to, Paul Senior in Kernersville, Tanglewood Arboretum today, Haynes Park, Renolda Village there on Wake Forest University, and so there's several other places that we get to go, and it's a vacation. Like to really be a part of that, it's awesome. But I get stressed because it's 4 hours, and my phone is blowing up from clients.
Or fiance.
Well, no, you didn't bug me. No, you never bugged me. But because you were hanging out with Amy, y'all were having coffee and stuff like that. But it's like I feel like I'm missing a chance, and that's why Russ is with me full time now. But Russ is running the landscape side, so he's usually on a piece of equipment, so he doesn't hear the phone. And really, people will call like 3 times back to back until they can get somebody, and so. Then they're calling back because, I've left Russ's number on my voicemail. So if they couldn't get it back, they keep calling. And it's just one of those situations. And then, finished lab. I wanted to, meet up with you guys because we were going to go vote. We were going to hang out, do the family thing. But I had to do payroll. And so
that's important. You got to pay your employees so they'll come to work.
We pay every Monday, direct deposit on Monday night. And so I had to transfer some funds to make it happen because
over a check that we prayed in today.
that we got, but payroll was covered. So that money is the business. And so unfortunately you got to pay the business credit card off so we can order a bunch of Christmas lights and get that started. So, it's all going to go to more materials for the job. So
got to have that money.
That's true.
Got to make pay. I'm looking at the comments. So
yeah.
Hello to everybody again. We're live on Facebook, on Boots on Ground Radio's Facebook page, as well as mine and Eric's page. You can also click and listen to us live every Monday night from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock p.m. on www.bootsongroundradio.com.
Yep. And the app will be finished very, very
but I'm going back through and I'm looking. Tony Moore is a friend of mine from Knoxville. She said you guys are great together. How sweet. Thank you, Tony.
Cool. Thank you.
We have fun.
We do.
We have fun.
99.9% of the time we're together, or even when we're not together, via phone and Facebook. Because we see each other every day. We're engaged. We're going to be a family.
We are engaged. I got the ring to show it. I got the proof.
The proof is in the
pudding.
That's right. And so, we see each other every day, and I'm thankful for that. And when we're not together, we're usually on the phone. We're FaceTiming. Yeah. And so.
Because I live in Moxville. I'm 30 minutes away. You live here in Pofftown.
Yeah.
And we literally keep the roads hot. It's either I'm coming to you or you're coming to me. It's constant back and forth. But I wouldn't change it for nothing. I wouldn't change it for nothing.
And we get very little sleep.
I know, because when we are together, we're up late, because we don't get,
we don't get too much time.
We're two different places, so it's really hard. I was looking at another comment here. I think I saw my friend Candy. Yes, Candy. Candy says, I'm cracking up at you, girl. Some of my friends know me that know me really well, and Candy is one of those that knows me really well, so I can see why she's cracking up at me. But yeah, this is fun. It
is fun.
My dad says something to you, and just I'll share this, which is what I thought was so sweet. So before you asked me to marry you, you are very traditional.
Amen.
You went and had a conversation with both of my boys.
They were first, yeah.
Yep, and then you talked to your girls. I guess the day that we got engaged, you had a conversation with the girls.
But they didn't. But nobody knew.
No. Well, nobody knew. No.
It was going to happen, and even I didn't.
Of course, obviously, I didn't have no idea.
But I didn't. It happened because it was meant to happen that way.
Right. It was meant to be in the time frame it happened, and I still said yes. So
yes,
that's all that matters.
But I mean, I had a methodically way that I was going to do it, like planned event that got blown out of the water.
And whose fault was that?
Church.
Mine.
Church.
It was church. It was.
It was church.
Yeah. But like you said, everything works together the way it's supposed to, and it happened when it was supposed to, and it was perfect. It was perfect because it was us. It was our life and how things happen, and it was perfect. But you went to my dad, and I have so much respect for you because of who you are as a person, for your family, your heritage. I have respect for your military service. You served 17 years for our nation doing the things that you did. You were in the Navy for how many years?
I did a 6x2.
6x2 in the Navy, and then you transferred over to Army as a medic. You were a SARC, S-A-R-C. And please explain what a SARC is.
This is all about.
Come on, no. I'm bragging on you.
This is about boots on ground radio, but that is the reason. This is why
this radio station is started, because you and Russ, or as everybody called him, Hecubus.
Dr. Owens.
He was special ops. You were special ops. He was in PsyOps. You were a medic, and you did civil affairs. You did some other. I know. Bless. See, I'm telling you, I'm so impressed with who you are. I have a ton of respect for you,
and Russ is the same way.
Y'all
quiet.
are not proud about. You're not loud about what you did. You keep it very private.
Even when we were at Cracker Barrel in Boone one day.
Yeah, we got our lunch paid for because you had your.
I had a hat on, and it like embarrassed me. Like I did not. Like I feel so guilty for that. I have the opinion that. Don't thank me for my service. Let me thank you for my service, because it was the best time of my life, other than now being with you. So
that was sweet to say.
Like
I might have paid him for that.
That's
royalties.
No, it's just who we are, and it's just like Veterans Day. We were talking about it this morning on the show. That Veterans Day is just right around the corner, and I'm not going to go to Applebee's. I'm not going to go get the free meal. I'm not going to wear.
Right. You're not going to go say, "Hi, I'm a vet. Where's my military discount?" I mean, that's just not who you are. And I agree. You are not like that at all.
No.
I probably brag more about who you are than you even let on who you are. You keep that very quiet about yourself. Yeah. But as I was saying, you went to my dad and had I think y'all talked for like two and a half hours. Yeah. And I was like, me and my mom was like, what are they talking about? Because we had no idea what y'all were doing. I'm in there doing my mom's hair, and y'all were gone. And I was
think
like,
it would have probably been.
On?
It should have been obvious. Like you were doing your mom's hair.
Well, but you like to talk. My dad likes to talk. You put two talkers together. Two talkers are going to talkie. So that's what happened.
True.
We were like, man, they must be in a really deep conversation out there. And come to find out, you and my dad were like in the deep conversation together.
We were talking about driving trucks and equipment.
Yeah, y'all do. Which I told you when I went to Kentucky with you, we took my boys and your team and went to Kentucky, and we had an amazing time. And thank you for doing that, by the way.
It was fun.
And I have the sweatshirt on. It says Equip, and things are backward on Facebook, so the words are backwards. So I'm sorry, but on my arm it says Equip. Equip 2024. I got this to have as a souvenir because
it was our year. It was our year.
Candy says, and Jennifer likes to talk. Yes, everybody knows Jennifer's a talker.
And when she gets quiet, that's when something's wrong. Same way with me.
Yeah, it is the same with you. When you get quiet, something's wrong.
Because I don't get mad. Like,
no, and it's not that something is necessarily has to be wrong. It's that you are processing something, or I'm processing something. Like something was said or something was done, something happened, and then we're just like internally. Because I tend to internalize. I don't, I'm not a complainer. I'm not a drama maker. That's just not who I am. Things that can create drama or can come across as being a complaint or something I keep to myself. And I don't like to make bad situations worse or cause a bad situation.
Sure.
So I'd keep my mouth shut.
But I mean, seriously, and we've been together 6 months now, and there's not been one argument.
No.
There's, we've had some.
Not that we won't ever argue. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't put two free thinking individuals together and not have a
Two
disagreement.
alphas. Like you're an alpha female.
I'm the oldest. You're the oldest.
I'm the oldest, in our family, sibling wise. But we're mature enough that, and I made a promise to you that we would never, hang up the phone at night being mad at each other.
And I appreciate that.
We would solve
I really
any
do.
problem that, arises. And you haven't seen me get angry. You've seen me get hurt, because my kids, I love them to death, but they can say some hurtful things, and it makes me a little cry sometimes. But
Regina says Jennifer can't talk without her hands. I love it. Now that's Candy's mom, Regina.
Okay.
I've grown up. They've known me my whole life. I mean, literally my whole life. So yes, I can't talk without my hands. I try to. Maybe I need to do this.
No. Just do like special forces. Put your hands in pockets.
Oh, put your hands in. Is that why you do that?
No, it's like people say that. Why did you join special forces? Because you can put your hands in your pockets. I kid Russ about that all the time. Like the memes that we see pop up, we're just like, oh my God. But that was, you see it. That's why you see those guys, because nobody else could do that. And as a medic, we also, they want your hands warm if you're going to be touching body parts.
Yeah.
So.
Ooh. I can't. Ooh. Ooh. I mean, I know in the military, touching body parts means there's something wrong with that body part if you're a medic in the military. So I can only imagine what you've seen and done. And which, there again, I'm impressed. That's gross. But I'm impressed with who you are. I really am.
I'm just Eric Jones, turf teacher.
And I know you're so impressed by me.
You are. I mean, I am. Seriously. I mean, seriously. That is one of the things. I
was saying that as a joke. I wasn't saying that as here, let me hook you up.
No. Like I'm very impressed, and I'm very impressed that you want to do things like this together. Podcast, live radio station. You want to be a part of the business. We're getting ready to incorporate, and I know I haven't really had a chance to tell Mom. I hadn't a chance to tell the girls. We hadn't a chance to tell anybody, but we're going to start incorporating pools into the landscape business, because the general contractor's license allows us to build pools, because you want to do the hardscapes, you want to do the outdoor kitchens. That's a part of the poolscape. And again, it's just like being around plants. When you're around an environment like that, it's like being at vacation every single day, and the idea is for us. Let me join the live. Sierra.
We got one of our kids commenting, uh-oh.
She's probably going to be like,
do we trust our kids? Oopsie.
No, good. She'll probably like
embarrass you.
Like last night when we brought the ice cream in, because what did we have for dinner last night? It was Sunday night. Well, no, we had lunch at 3:00.
We did. And
you got a TV dinner.
Yeah, I told you I didn't really want to go out, so we just went and bought TV dinners.
I warmed up. I had cheese and crackers.
Yeah, and I ate a gluten-free, broccoli bake or whatever. But the whole reason why we went to Food Line, tell them, why did we go to Food Line?
To get orange sherbet and Haagen-Dazs raspberry chocolate.
Oh, it was so good.
That was. We don't have any left. Unless Sierra didn't eat hers.
I don't know, but I left that much in the bottom of my cup.
I'm afraid Sierra would repeat what I said last night standing in the kitchen, and you're like, she's standing right over there.
Yeah, no. Miss Joyce, she says hello. Hi, Miss Joyce. there again, this is somebody that's known me my whole life. So I've got some people commenting I've known you since I was very, very small.
And one thing I want to say about the one thing I do want to say about my military career, people say, why'd you stop at 17 years? What you don't realize, guys, is, doing the 6x2 in the Navy and then having a break in service and then enlisting in the United States Army. I got hurt. And so I was fully medically retired at 17 years. So full retirement, full benefits package, TRICARE for life, pension, the whole 9 yards. So,
and you're lucky to be sitting here right now.
100%. 100%.
You're lucky to be sitting here. And I'm
Same thing
thankful.
with Russ.
Well, Russ. Oh, yeah, Russ. I mean, he's got some stories too. But both of you are vets who not only served our country, but you literally almost gave your life for the country. And it is a miracle that either one of you are still walking the earth today. Yeah. And I'm grateful that God chose to leave you here because he knew that we were going to meet. I truly believe that things happen in our lives for reasons, and you and I would not have met if he had took you earlier. So there's a song that a gospel group has sang. It's called He's Already in Your Tomorrow. God already knows what's in your tomorrows. And, you and I have talked about this, and we'll get a little personal just for a second. I won't get too personal, but we'll get a little personal. Because there again, this is Be a Boss, Date a Boss, and it's not for people that are dating. It is people that are married that, you need to date your spouse. You're running a business, and especially if you're running your own business, you truly could get lost in running that business together and not making time for each other. Yeah. I understand that because my family were all entrepreneurs. I grew up on a dairy farm. My grandparents were dairy farmers. That was their business. My mom and dad had their own businesses when I was a kid. Even now, they still have their own businesses. Sometimes you can get caught up in the business of the business or the ministry, because my mom and dad both had businesses, but also was in the ministry. My dad had pastored a church at one point. You can get lost in those things and forget all about your spouse and kids because you're so busy working and trying to make the money, put the food on the table. But sometimes your kids, at the end of the day, I've heard this said, when you're laying on that deathbed, you're not saying, I wish I had worked more hours. You're saying, I wish I had spent more hours with my family. And that is what you and I, this is where we get a little personal. You and I have suffered through two, divorces, and we have had to start over, and we have been hurt, and whether, and we're not pointing fingers at the other side. We're not, it happened. This is where we are. It is part of our story. But, like anything else, God offers second chances. He offers redemption and restoration. And I truly believe that you and I being together is part of our restoration. And I even said this to you at one point, I always, at this point in my life, I thought, I just don't think true love exists. Would it ever exist? Would I ever really have what I wanted? Because I remember going through divorce, being, in that position, and just like, this is not what I wanted for my life. God, I'm so disappointed and upset. God, why did you let this happen to me? Why did this happen to me? And you've said the same thing, but now that you and I are together, you and I, we have had hours and hours and hours of conversation about where we've been, why we are where we are, whether some of it was our fault, whether some of it wasn't our fault. But, you and I have had to process and think through a lot of stuff. We were ashamed to tell people we were divorced. We didn't even want to talk about it. It was shameful to us. You and I even talked about it on our first date, how being divorced is such a shameful thing to talk about.
It's embarrassing. I mean,
it
really
is embarrassing because I've got wonderful friends, and some of you are watching tonight, been married 30, 40, 50 years. Yeah. I wanted that for me. You wanted that for you, and that didn't happen. So it brings a little bit of shame, which is unfortunate. And I could go a whole rabbit trail on that, but we met each other. And we're grateful for that, because now you and I can appreciate each other individually and together for what we are. And it doesn't.
And I've kind of turned it to a different scenario now.
Yeah. Our whole perspective has changed.
Like I said, used to be ashamed of it, and I've always preached this, and especially in the turf teacher. And guys, turf teacher is a consulting business that we do continuing education for landscape contractors, general contractors, pesticide applicators, irrigation contractors throughout the southeastern United States. So I do get to travel a little bit and do that, and I'm looking forward to you doing that with me. But, I've always felt like, I've had some really great role models in my life, but I learned more from my failure models. And so I not only want to be a role model for somebody, but I want to be their failure model and let them know that it's okay to make a mistake. It's okay to have to start over. It's okay to, keep pushing one foot in front of the other. It's not the end of the world.
It's not.
It's not.
And sometimes your greatest lessons come from failure.
Yeah, 100%.
I know for me, running a business, relationships on both sides of that, my biggest lessons have come when I have fallen flat on my face, because then I had to take a step back, do a self-introspective view of what did I do that caused me to go this direction or caused this to happen, and what could I have done differently? I talked to you, about there's a line. You're either going to live above the line or you're going to live below the line. And this is in my leadership, my conscious leadership book club that I'm in at work. And I've mentioned that several times on this podcast. And that has really spoke to me. It has really, there's been some things I've read in that book. I'm like, that was an aha moment. But I think the biggest one was talking about there's a line, a line, a foundation. We're either going to live above it or we're going to live below it. Living above it means you're curious. You're always looking to do something differently. I did it this way, but how could I have changed that here? Then there's the line where some days you're that way and some days you're not quite here, but you're not quite here. You're just kind of you're complacent a little bit. Yep. Below the line means I don't want to find out what I did wrong. I don't want to fix that. I'm over this. It's bitter, negative, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to be that person. And I think you and I have both learned we need to stay above the line in our relationship and our businesses, and live with that trajectory. But having said that, it's our failures which has taught us the greatest lessons. Because of us living above the line, we were okay in asking ourselves, what could I have done differently? Yeah. We didn't point the finger at...
No, you can't. You can't. And as a business owner, it doesn't matter. You can't blame nobody. It's your fault 100%. Yeah. You can't blame the logo. You can't blame, your
or other people, other employees.
Your vice president, your employees. It's solely left up to you. And it's the most expensive education you'll ever pay for. And once you make a mistake in business, just like in a relationship, if you make that mistake, you're never going to make it again. Like, you learn from it.
Or you would hope.
You would hope. I think sometimes in relationships, it's probably people tend to make those mistakes over and over again. But when it comes to business, when it hurts your pocketbook, and I shouldn't say pocketbook, I say checkbook, when it hurts the bank account, you're not going to make that mistake ever again.
Right. Yeah. And I've made some of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've made some of those in prior businesses that I've worked in, whether I ran it or didn't run it. And even right now in the business that I'm in, running this business, profit and loss is a big conversation that I'm constantly having. I'm not just having it with myself, I'm having it with my team. You're managing clients, but you're also managing services. You're also managing the dollars that are coming in, and you're managing the dollars going out. And then there's numbers you have to meet. And, if you're not meeting those numbers, you're not bringing in that profit. You've got to set a business model and say, hey, this is what I got to have. These are the goals I'm going to set. And it's the same way in a relationship. Setting goals in a relationship, dating each other is important. Dating your spouse while running a business, that's important. Whether it's a business, a ministry, or whatever it is.
And dating, like, boundaries.
Yes, and you've got to have boundaries. We talked about that on our very first podcast about integrity. Trust and having boundaries. And boundaries is where you create the line, and then you've got integrity. Integrity is not just who you are behind closed doors, because that is. Integrity is who you are behind closed doors. It's who you are when nobody's looking. Yep. That's part of your character. Yeah. But integrity also means, I talked about the Latin root word was integer, which means to integrate or make whole. You are a whole person when you're living honestly and openly. Yeah. And you've got to have that in a relationship. You got to have that in a business relationship. You definitely have to have it in a business relationship, because the businesses that don't operate on an honest model, they tend to fail because people realize I don't want to work with that person. You know, you go do a job for somebody and you quote them this amount and quote them what exactly this amount is going to cover, what services is cover, and then the owner comes and finds out, well, he didn't do this and this and this, but you charged me this. Man, you lied to me, or you didn't do what I told. What?
And the key point to there is to hire a licensed professional. Guys, you have to check state licensing. If a contractor does screw over a customer, all they got to do is report them to the licensing board. The bonds are going to be activated. They're going to get the work fixed, but there's no help for a customer, residential customer or commercial client, if they hire an unlicensed professional. The law cannot go after an unlicensed professional.
Which is probably why you've got some out there that won't get licensures for that reason.
And I shouldn't call them a professional if they're unlicensed.
Well, they're not. If they're unlicensed, they're an amateur, in my opinion. It's the same way with doing hair. You know, do people have the talent to do hair? Yes. Do people watch YouTube videos and go do hair? Yeah, you could do that all day long. And there's some people that do it really well, but they're not licensed.
Yep.
But having a license backs up your professionalism. It backs up your training. You know, I tend to trust somebody to come do a job for me if I know that they've had the education, the training behind it, because that does back all that up. And having that licensure is important.
Well, and it's every state license is not designed to protect the license holder. It's designed to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the general public.
Bingo.
And
yeah,
so
I think Ted just said bingo on there too, and I saw that. Yeah, it's true. And it's the same way with a North Carolina cosmetologist. You know, there for a while there was a lot of rumors going around that they weren't going to require licensure for people to do hair, and I was like, listen, when I was in school, we had to learn the muscular system, the skin system, the nail, the hair, diseases, infections, because when you're working on that person, and this is what a lot of people don't understand, just because you're sitting in a stylish chair doesn't mean that, you know, it should be cheap or it should be free, because they are charging you based on that education and that experience. And in the years, you've quoted this, and I saw that look in your face. I knew exactly where he was going.
You saw it at Jobber, Jobber booth.
And you've used that before. Yeah. And we'll turn back around to that in just a second. But there is a sanitation and a disinfection policy that we have to follow touching a person sitting in the chairs while we have to be licensed, because you can cause a great deal of harm to somebody by not being licensed and not being educated. It's the same in your field, in contracting work, whatever modality that is. If you're not licensed and you're not understanding safety and, you know, the protection of all this stuff, and there's so much that could be involved in that. There's a lot of liability, and my insurance comes out at that point because I was an insurance agent. There's a lot of homeowners liability for contractors to make sure you have a liability policy to cover your safety and your business, because they could come after your business if you don't have the right policy for that.
I see so many unprofessional contractors out there that on their business card it says, you know, licensed and insured. And basically what they're meaning is I have a driver's license and I have an auto policy.
Or I have a bond through Farm Bureau.
But a bond,
or some other insurance
I can't
agency.
purchase a bond unless I have workers' comp and general liability.
Yes, yeah.
Then I'm able to purchase the bond. And I have to have the bond to get the license, which requires me to have the workers' comp and general liability. So when you hire a licensed contractor, all of that is in place, because the license would be pulled once those policies expire or they didn't renew them. So, and thankfully Farm Bureau is picking up the phone and saying, Eric, you need to make a payment today.
And I worked for Farm Bureau for a little while. So shout out to the Davie County branches.
Yes.
Because I loved working there, and I miss working there, but I learned a lot. I got all my insurance knowledge for but for property and casualty at Farm Bureau. And then I ended up moving to Johnson Insurance, which was so Farm Bureau is considered a captive agency. I moved to an independent agency where we could quote with other carriers, but I focused on farm insurance. So I got my agribusiness farm insurance specialist credentials and worked on that. And so I learned a whole lot about liability, farmers, you know, and that's kind of where you and I connect, because we have all the knowledge with farming, and it just takes me back to my roots. But there is so much that we can cover, and we're right at 7:59.
But we can keep going.
And I mean, you know, we try to do this for an hour, but there's just My goodness, there's so much to cover. And you and I had talked about it. Like, what are we going to talk about tonight? Because typically I have a notebook and I'll write down topics that comes up through the week. Okay, let's hit on this. Let's hit on that. Because I'm organized. I like to be organized and know what I'm doing. I have to. It's not that I take a whole lot of pride and joy into it. I have to, or I'm all over the place. So the girls at work make fun of me because, like, Jennifer, you're chasing squirrels. Yeah, I absolutely am. Because my brain is working 500 miles a minute, and it's ridiculous. But yeah, my time in insurance, I miss it. I've not really focused on that in the past year because I went more towards business administration.
True.
And then, that's where you and I are coupled up in that sense because my business and stuff, I'm working with you on that side, and it's fun.
Our logo disappeared.
It did disappear. We got little blinks behind us, but I was going to go back and look at some of these comments because some of them I'm seeing them. Let's see who is commenting. Hey guys, hey everybody. This is Boots on Ground Radio. This is Eric and Jennifer. You already know us because you're following us on Facebook. If you follow Boots on Ground Radio on Facebook, this is our podcast we do every Monday night called Be a Boss, Date a Boss. That means married or not married, you're dating each other in your business. For husband and wife, spouses, or whatever you want to say there. But
really, a lot of service and contracting businesses are run by couples.
So Ted Lemons says he's 60% now when you're talking about disability, because he was in the military too. And he said he appreciates your service.
Same to you, buddy.
Joy still said thank you for your service, sir. And let's see who else commented. I'm scrolling down. I'm going to call you out if you commented.
I saw the Snake Man on there.
Who's the Snake Man? Who's the Snake Man?
Scroll down.
Scroll down?
Yeah. No, like go up. Yeah, scroll down.
Who's the Snake Man? He's got to tell me who this is. Who is the Snake Man?
Chris Wolf.
Okay. All right, Christopher Wolf.
He is more of a snake fanatic than me.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, it's just like yesterday the minister was talking about you snake. What was he telling? He said you people that like snakes, like.
Yeah, because he's scared of snakes.
Yeah,
and then
I used to be until that's why I wanted to learn about them and play with them and pick them up and.
Don't care for snakes, y'all. Okay.
Let them crawl all over you.
No. I will run. I will probably fall. I trip. No.
But
don't
baby,
give me.
like, and it's like, when I started going to church with you, I thought there would actually be snake handling.
We don't go to that kind of church.
So I was like, yes.
No, we don't do that. I'm gonna back up. I'm gonna trace my steps back just a little bit. I would not say that I'm scared of snakes. I do have a respectful fear. I respect a snake. I'm not exactly afraid of them. You're in your world, homie. I'll stay in my world. But I'm more afraid of a spider because those little things that they could get away like fast. They got 8 little legs. You got a snake that's
There's only 4 poisonous spiders in the United States. 2 of them are here, North Carolina. You got the black widow and the brown recluse.
Yeah.
And
I had black widows that stayed around my swimming pool in my pool boxes. Every summer, I'd find at least 2.
Same thing. It's like irrigation boxes. You're going to open that up, and you're going to see the black body and the red little spot on the belly.
Which I was fascinated, because I'm coming into their space. They weren't coming after me, and I just happened to see them. I never would kill one, though. Like, I would find some way to get it and relocate it somewhere else. I don't like to kill animals or bugs or anything, but I know that if a black widow was to bite you, they have like a skin disease.
It's going to mess you up.
Yeah, it'll mess you up pretty bad. I've known some people been in the hospital for it, but I'm like I said, I'm more afraid of a spider than I am a snake. I respect snakes. We had lots of snakes on the farm. I've seen them of all kinds.
Yeah, here's the thing, but spiders is Mother Nature's #1 pest control.
It is.
It is. Like,
and our phone is ringing. I wonder who it be. I think it says spam risk. It's a spam risk phone call. Now we've got Apple TV playing behind us here. He's going to find the right input to get our Boots on Ground Radio logo put back up. This is a fun space, though. I mean, you've got a fun space in here where you do your radio and podcast.
I do. I think I made Russ mad this morning.
Uh-oh. Why'd you do that?
Because I can't, like, Like I hadn't had everything set up, and he just comes in and he's like, "Oh boy."
And just to explain who Russ is, for those of you that are just watching, Russ Owens is Eric's operations manager for Elite Landscape, and they both have started Boots on Ground Radio. They're both vets, military veterans, and they do a radio show every morning from 7 to 8 in the morning. Eric and I do radio show on Monday night from 7 to 8 on Monday night. We're a little bit past 8 o'clock tonight, so we're just kind of chilling with you guys, especially right now because we've got Facebook Live going. Who else? Tony Moore. Amen. I was a hairdresser 30 years or so, right? Yeah.
Hand me that remote.
You want this remote? So let's see who else has commented as Eric is trying to get the. Ted Lemon said, "Quit ignoring us." I'm just joking. Who else has commented? Hey guys, hey. Definitely send a reaction.
Andreas, ¿qué pasa, amigo?
Muy poquito en español. Sí, sí.
Mucha comida empanadas esta noches.
You said something about lots of eating tonight, but what did you eat?
Empanadas.
Empanadas.
Yeah, Andreas makes some awesome empanadas, him and his wife.
I took Spanish in high school. It was one of the foreign language courses that we offered at school, and I went to private schools. It was the only one that was offered, and my Spanish teacher, to this day, he and I are still really good buddies. You see him message me a lot on Facebook, and we try to converse back and forth sometimes in Spanish. And there are just some things that I don't remember, but you're really fluent in Spanish and French. I was surprised to see how fluent you were in French. I was like, ooh la la. He says, "Hola, amiga." Hello, amigo.
Is traditional food from Colombia.
Colombia.
That's right, South America.
Empanadas.
Yeah. They're good. Like, he would bring them to work. Oh, my gosh. Just melt in your mouth.
I played the piano for our Spanish church for a couple of years, and I was around the Spanish language a lot. And then when I went to Chicago for college, in Chicago, there's a lot of Puerto Rican. There's a lot of Spanish culture there in Chicago. So I was around that a lot, and I enjoy Spanish. I enjoy the Spanish culture. I really enjoy Spanish food. Is my favorite. It truly is. It is my favorite food. I would love to go to a country and have like authentic Spanish food. Ted Lemons, he asked Connie Schaffner Waves. She's part of my family, extended family. Hi, Connie. Let's see. Ted Lemons, how did y'all meet? That's a good question.
Yeah.
How did we meet, sir? Why don't you tell that story? How did we meet?
I'll let you do it.
We met at Buffalo Wild Wings for our first date. Mm-hmm. But what led up? We did.
It was a lunch
what was
date.
Our lunch date? You and I were very careful. very careful about who we went on dates with.
Yes.
I just was over it. You know, I had been single for it'd been a year at that point, and I don't know. I was very hesitant when we went out.
And it was I think we were both kind of in that same boat. You know, it'd been a rough year, losing Dad, and
we had been on dates with other people.
Yeah.
We were in that dating pool,
which was no fun at all.
No, it really wasn't.
And when we met, we hit it off, and but then we took it really, really slow. So I mean, it wasn't like we jumped in or anything like that, and you canceled on me a couple times because of church, which is okay.
Yeah.
Like I understood that completely. And then our conversations got a little bit further in between, but then we'd message each other on Facebook, and then we were just determined hey, let's meet again at B-Dubs, and which is our go-to. That'll always be our place because that's where we met. And but then Village Tavern's become the
Village Tavern has always. This is funny, Village Tavern has always been my favorite restaurant. Always. I love Village Tavern.
As a single man, I ate there like every single night.
And it was your favorite restaurant too. And then when we were like, are you kidding me? That's like my favorite place. Like we've had a lot of the, that's mine too. Like, are you kidding me? Are you making that up just because you want me to go? No. But so now Village Tavern has become a hot spot for you and I. I love their spring rolls. Is my favorite.
And we go to the one in Renolda Village, because we're right there at Wake Forest. I'm a huge Demon Dinkin fan. We go to all.
I never pulled. So let me say this. I love sports. I played sports in high school. I played basketball. I played volleyball. I was a cheerleader. I was very athletic. I loved sports. I grew up on a farm. I was not a girly girl.
Yep.
I was a girl. Don't take me wrong, but I was not a girly girl. Like I enjoyed being out. I had more guy friends than I had girlfriends because the guys were more fun and girls were too dramatic. I couldn't take it. But now I'm really, really girly. Like all that changed once I got to college. But I guess I got interested in boys, and that's what changed.
Well, it's the same way. Like I could have played baseball in college, but I got so tired of my arm hurting as a pitcher, and I'm like, I'm done. And I knew what my calling was. It was the U.S. Navy at that time as a senior in high school. So I was opening day pitcher, high school, senior year, quit the next day. We lost 2-1. I said, I'm done. Like, I'm done. I'm not going home and icing my arm and heat, ice
baths and
I'm just done. Same thing with the girls quitting swimming. Like it gets to a point where you're done.
Just physically, your body can't take it anymore.
Yeah.
But I've always loved sports. I've never really had a football team that I've ever really pulled for. I remember growing up, my pastor's favorite team was the Steelers. Yep. So I pulled for the Steelers because that was my pastor's team. My dad was not into sports. My dad was a farmer. He didn't care nothing about sports. So I didn't really have sports at home on TV. We were not sports people. So I didn't grow up around that. But since you and I have been dating, the private investigator is coming out of Ted Levinson. You said where you met. But how did we meet? I don't mind telling how we met. No. So I'm not very social. And that's probably hard.
You are very social. You're too social.
No. I'm not very social, meaning I don't go out.
Oh, got you.
I don't go. Church is the extent of my out. Okay, and he said that's right. Church truly is the extent of my social life. It's either at work or it's at church. Anything outside of work team and church team, I don't socialize. I really don't, and I don't really socialize at either one. Like, my work hours, my church hours is it. When it's over, I go home and I'm in my private space. I really do believe I'm more introverted than I am extroverted, but I know how to be extroverted. I don't have a problem with that, but I drain really easy. So I need my time. So I knew if I was ever going to meet anybody, it was not going to be because I went out, because I don't go out. I don't do the downtown scenes. I just don't. I like to go to downtown Winston and go to eat at a nice restaurant, but for me to go find somewhere and hang out and try to meet people, that is not me.
Unless it's Wake Forest game.
Yeah, but I'm with you. But I'm with you, and I wouldn't have done that. Like I would not have done that. Now, my best friend Amy, she and I, God put us back into each other's lives during the hardest parts of our lives, and so she became my date. So we would go. He was like, "Do I need to guess? Getting there. I'm getting there. I got to go halfway around the world to tell it." But I'm explaining why we did what we did. So I didn't go out. So I knew if I was going to meet anybody, it was going to have to be through other means. And so I signed up. For other friends told me to do it. It was like, Jennifer, you need to sign up on Match.com. Yep. So I did. I signed up on Match.com, and then Match.com does a Christian dating app as well, and I don't remember the name of it now. I wasn't on either one of them very long, maybe a month and a half, not even 6 weeks probably. I couldn't take it. Like it was insane. It was insane. I didn't enjoy it. I went out on several dates on Match, one date, and then we only messaged through the app. We'd set a place and a time. My family knew where I was. My boys knew my locations. I had certain people that knew what was going on, so I wasn't alone. And then you messaged me, like, and I never messaged the guys. Usually, if they messaged me and I liked their profile, I was like, okay, I will say something back. But I was extremely careful about that because you don't know who you're meeting on these apps. Thankfully, the Lord looked over me and protected me, and I got enough sense. I will say I had enough sense to know that that I was very careful.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I met somebody who himself was careful. And so first time we met was at lunch. It was a non-serious meeting.
Yeah, it wasn't a Friday or Saturday night typical date.
Yeah, like we met for lunch. It was time efficient. We had a 1 hour block. Mm-hmm. And if we liked each other after that, then we would say, okay, we'll exchange numbers and go from there. He said he knew it. He said, I met Randy on a dating site. So, and I know my friend Amy, one of her pastors or one of the associate pastors of the church she goes to, they met on a dating site, on a Christian dating site. So it is very possible to meet people on dating sites. I was a little iffy. Sometimes you have to weed through the stuff that's on there, and I did. I mean, I was shocked at some of the stuff I saw on Match. I was like, no, not for me, not for me. After I met you, I think I went out on one more date after I met you, maybe a couple more dates after that. And I was done after those next couple of dates. I was like, I'm not doing this no more. So I logged out, deleted profiles, everything, got off. And then you and I were still exchanging, messages, just checking up on each other. How's it going? How's the dating life? Blah, blah, blah. We were friends.
And I promised you, I was like, I liked you enough that first date, and I'm like, you know what? If we don't date, we're definitely going to be friends because I wanted you to be a part of my life, like because we had fun.
And I felt the same way.
And if it didn't become an intimate relationship, it was going to be a fun, crazy friendship, And so that was the mentality that I took when I met you, and I think that was why we fell in love. It was because we really did become friends first, and talked about the nightmares that was out there on the date.
Many nightmares.
And she's got some bad stories about dudes, but let me tell you something: the women out there are worse, and so it was just crazy.
I'm not going to say not ever do dating sites. It is very possible because Eric and I are proof of that. You can meet some real, authentic people on these things, but I will tell you, just be careful. If you're single and you're looking and you don't want to be on the dating scene, go out every Friday, Saturday night just to find somebody, I would say just be careful. Monitor your messages. And I'll say this, your instincts. Listen to your instincts. Yes. If something doesn't feel right in that conversation with that person, run. Yep. I had one that my instinct said I needed to run. I was like, well, maybe, and I kept talking to this person. And then about 2 dates in, I was like, yeah, I should have ran. And I did. I ran. I was like, not doing this no more. I told you about him. The crazy guy. I was like,
four-wheeler guy.
Yeah, I was like, done. Capital D-O-N-E, exclamation to
so
infinity.
Only 2 dates with him?
Yeah, something like that. It was a couple of dates. Okay. Maybe 3. Maybe it been 3 dates. But he, like the first messages with him, it was... I was like, well, maybe if I met him, we talked on the phone I was like, okay, maybe I'm just thinking too much into this. But no, my instincts were right from the very start. Yeah. So I will say, listen to your instincts.
Red flags are
right.
red
yes,
for a reason.
Are. They are. And I've learned to pick up on those red flags. But, and I'm going to say this, everybody has a red flag, okay? You could be as normal and as great as they can be. We all have things that people aren't going to, that bothers me, but is it...
Well, like you said, everybody has red flags, but you have to recognize them within yourself and work on them.
Yeah.
Like that's
just like
what it's
narcissism.
about. Yeah.
I'm listening to a podcast right now, and they're talking about narcissism and how this culture, the world that we're in right now, the culture has picked up the word narcissism, and it's just become just a flamboyant word to use now that people label everything narcissism. The problem is everybody is narcissistic. We all are narcissists because we all can be selfish. And a lot of people misplace narcissism as just somebody being selfish. But no, there is a true medical diagnosis that is a narcissistic personality disorder, NPD, and it can be diagnosed. And it's you've got to really delve into it. And I don't have time to go into it, but it's a true disorder.
True.
And we have sensationalized that word when
yes, it's overused.
Yeah, it's overused. So, but that being said, don't be against dating apps, but be very careful if you use them. And for me, I had people in my life that, knew who I was going out with, knew where I was going, could see my location. I had backup in case something went wrong, and go to very public places. I don't even recommend going to their houses or anything in the first several days. So you didn't come to my house till about 2 months in.
Yeah.
Like I was very careful about that. But just set boundaries, set boundaries for yourself to protect yourself. But yeah, Ted, that's how we met, was on Match.com. But obviously it worked well for us.
It worked well. And like you said, I mean, I was at a point where going out was impossible.
And I didn't have time, really.
Dad had just passed away. I was still taking care of Mom. Mom has been through surgeries and everything. She fell. She paralyzed neck down. And so, mom. Yeah, so had to, deal with that. She's had the surgery and, things are, doing really well for her. But, that period of my life was very hectic and crazy. And it's just like I was telling you, we went to vote today, early vote, and I went last year by myself. And we were talking yesterday with Mom at lunch after church that how many times did I go to the Wake Forest basketball? I buy 4 season tickets every year right outside of the Dinkin Club, so I can walk right out of the Dinkin Club and go right to my seats. And I bought 4 season tickets I have for years now, and I can't count the games that I went by myself last year because Mom was still in rehab there. Right, she came home right before Christmas, and just did a lot of things by myself that you would do with a significant other. But
I did a lot of stuff by myself over the past year. But I'll say the year that I had alone was a formidable year for me. I learned a lot about myself. And I learned a lot about who I was. I already knew who I was, but I just learned a lot more about me and what I'm capable of. When I say I learned more about myself, I learned what I could actually do, what I was capable of being and what I was capable of doing. I was led to believe that I couldn't make it on my own. I was told, 6 months I was gonna basically hit rock bottom and, was just made to feel very inadequate and unappreciated. And I had to learn to create my self-esteem again and get my confidence back, because my confidence was taken away. It was destroyed, and I had to build that brick by brick. For me, this podcast is reaching a lot of people across a lot of different ways of life. But for me, I found my strength in the Lord, and, getting back to the basics for me was getting deeper into scripture. I did several Bible studies, devotionals, read lots of books, lots of self-help, went through therapy. I am a huge advocate for therapy because my therapist really helped me work through a lot of things. And I went weekly. I didn't go just once a month. I went weekly. I went weekly for several months during this time period. But really delving into therapy coupled with my Bible reading, my personal walk with the Lord, finding out who I was, and honestly staying in church. There's so many people that get hurt. And I hate to label it, but sometimes church hurt. They get out of church and they won't go back to church because somebody in the church hurt them, or an ex goes to church and they don't want to get, there's so many reasons why, we wouldn't want to go to church. But for me, my strength came from being in church and being around like-minded believers.
True.
And my support system was at my church and my ladies group. Some of you have hopped on and have watched. I really appreciate what you did for me this past year, being my friend and praying with me and being a support system for me. but I had to learn who I was again, and I had to find myself again. And, we were talking earlier, you was talking to my dad. My dad said something to you that really made all the difference for me, in knowing that you and I were right for each other. My dad told you that you brought his Jennifer back. You brought the old me back.
Yeah.
And I know some of that was not just all you, some of that's my own doing, the work I've put in for the past year, but you have helped highlight that by the way that you love me and the way you support me. And
but you still did it.
But I could be myself around you, and that was important. Like you've not taken anything about me away from me. Mm-hmm. And my parents saw that happen. They saw me being broken down piece by piece, and you've come in, and even though I've been building this for the past year, but you have come in and helped solidify a lot of that, and I appreciate you for doing that. But I would like to say that I've been able to be a support system for you the past 6 months, and we've done a lot of talking and
we've done a lot in 6 months. Like when it comes to doing things,
we have, and I'm thankful for you. And
we will never slow down.
No.
And my motto, guys, ever since the Army has always been, I'll sleep when I'm dead. And
we won't really sleep when we're dead either. We're just resting in peace.
But, I don't go to bed before 1 o'clock, And
I love that about you, because I'm a night owl, I'm like, man, we have this in common, because I will say, you are a morning person and I'm not.
I can go to bed at 1 o'clock or 2 a.m. and still get up at 4:30 or 5 and be bushy, bright-eyed and all
that. Which
that.
is great for business, because you can get up and just jump right into business and get her done. Me, I need to thaw out. I need my coffee. I need quiet solace.
Well, I need coffee. I'll drink it from the time I get up to the time I go to bed.
You do. And not to put a plug in for the coffee that you drink, but we drink Death Wish coffee, and I have fallen in love with it. I really have. I was a Starbucks girl, and until I met him, he has brought Death Wish into my life, and I absolutely love it.
And I have to thank Mitchell Gordy for that, state trooper, who said, "Dude, you got to try Death Wish," and it's the most caffeinated coffee there is. So
it's great. It's great. I put a post up on Facebook the other day, the 3 different caffeines I had sitting on my desk. I had Pib Extra, you got me hooked on. And then I had my Celsius drink, and then I had my Death Wish coffee. I was like, how much more caffeine do I need? Yeah. But when you're running business, and you're busy like we are, sometimes you got to have a little bit of
pep in your step.
I've had a lot of pep in my step, but But yeah, it's been fun. It's been real fun. For those of you that are joining again, this is Boots on Ground Radio. You can always listen to us every Monday night on www.bootsongroundradio.com.
Yep.
There is a little thing there you can click. It says listen live. But also tonight we're on Facebook from my personal page and Eric's, and also on Boots on Ground Radio. So you can follow us there as well.
The app will be, hopefully we'll get it up and running this week. But some things that Boots on Ground Radio is going to do. We were at Quip Expo. We got to do several interviews. We got to interview Darryl Strawberry with the New York Mets. Hear him at the National Prayer Breakfast. We'll not only be in Kentucky. Sounds good, brother. Sounds good. I'd like to talk to you about the PI work too as well. So, a good friend of mine is a PI, and we've done some work for him, especially when the riots happened down in Charlotte. We actually went to work for him and got to do some cool stuff through that, just because we were prior military. But Boots on Ground, we're going to be, World of Concrete, bringing that to you. ConX, which is like the big construction expo. We hope to be at like National Association of Home Builders, trade show as well. And then all of the local ones here, definitely in the Southeast. Synced Landscape down in Atlanta, Georgia. So we got a lot of things happening with Boots on Ground that, our motto is, we were soldiers, we were boots on ground. It's kind of where we came up with the name, but we're also contractors that actually do the work, so it's not like, we're behind the computer. Russ and I are out in the field every single day. So our boots are on the ground. And then with some of these national shows that we're going to be broadcasting live from. Like we're already working a deal up with World of Concrete. And then there's a big distributor meeting in Colorado Springs, Colorado, that we'll be broadcasting live from. That if you can't make these trade shows, we're going to have boots on ground broadcasting live, so that it's like you're there. And then with Jared being the phenomenal cameraman as well as Jaden, like they're bringing the video stuff. So we really won't. We'll also maybe possibly have boots on ground. TV.
There's so many possibilities because we got so many facets of
experts that I like to say,
and just people having these gifts of being able to do these things. You've got a great team, and I'm thankful I get to be a part of all of this. And
like just to have Russ move here to work with us. Like, Russ, born and raised in the Pacific Northwest. Well, he was born in Alaska when his dad was in the Air Force, but was raised in the Pacific Northwest. Joined the Army, Special Operations right off the bat, and moved to Fort Bragg. So he loved North Carolina. Then, got out, moved back to the Pacific Northwest. Has 3 PhDs. Like it's
insane. It's insane. I know, but it goes to show how smart he is.
Yeah, and fluent. Yesterday that he was fluent in 4 or 5 languages.
To me, the fact that he could speak Arabic, I'm impressed with that. That is, I don't know how that language, how the structure of that language is, but it looks complicated.
Yeah. He went while he was in the Army. I think phase 1 was 9 months. And then he went back for like another 6 months for Arabic. But then, was fluent in Russian, Arabic, Thai, and I can't remember the other. But, he spent several years there in Lebanon. So that's one of his world favorites.
I'm proud to get to be a part of this with you and Hecubus, other known as Russ Owens.
He's again lucky to be alive.
Well, you both are. You both are lucky to be here.
Russ, a Navy SEAL. Russ is still here because of a Navy SEAL that sacrificed his life for him. And Russ will get choked up talking about that.
Yeah.
And then parachute didn't open one night, and
it's a terrible situation.
So
he's lucky to be here.
He's definitely lucky.
And you were saved by a fellow
medic.
Yeah, serving in the Army.
If Sergeant Rick Barrett was not side by side with me, I would not be here.
And I got to meet him back in August in Boone. That was
my birthday.
That was a pleasure to get to meet him.
In November 2nd.
6 months.
Will be 6, but it's also the 10-year anniversary of
when you had the heart attack.
Yeah. So.
Wow. Lots of monumental moments in our lives to be thankful for.
So.
Yeah.
And I was thankful to have a heart attack. I'm gonna be honest with you about that. We just got back from deployment. I kept getting blood clots in my leg and DVTs, deep vein thrombosis, and that's from too many drives, too many flights, too many everything. Was all related to the mission, and got back home. Was doing the Army physical fitness test, and I was like, man, my leg's hurting again. And I knew what it was. I knew it was a blood clot. Finished the APFT, scored almost a 300 on it, and through that blood clot, and it went and hit my heart, and killed me. Like literally, they brought me back to life, and it's to be able to experience that near death. Remember, we were watching the Sean Ryan show last night. Former Navy SEAL does a big podcast, and he had a priest on there that we saw the previews that's not released yet. But then the next guy came on and was talking about the near death experiences. And some people see heaven, some people see hell, and I got to see what it's like to be on the good side of God, and which to me is the most amazing feeling in the world, to know where I was going to go. And
my mom had a similar experience
she did.
too with her heart attack, and she has told that story, and unless we've experienced it, we're not going to understand,
No.
and it's hard for us people who've never been there to wrap our minds around that being an experience. But my mom had a very similar experience as you did. And I know it's life-changing. It is. It's life-changing.
But, oh my gosh, I would go through it again in a heartbeat to see that, to see Jesus, to see God's hand reaching down for me, was the best thing in the world. And I got to see my little girls, grow up. Like when they say your life flashes before you, and that was God telling me that these 3 girls were going to be okay because they were young. They were tiny little things. And, to see them grow up and to become young ladies and mothers and, have great guys, that was him saying it's okay. And I knew at that time, he was going to take me home or send me home. And he decided to send me home. But that was because, Sergeant Barrett was there, who is in Tennessee, guys. He's right at the Tennessee-North Carolina line, who is still rescuing in his civilian life as a paramedic, flight medic, rescuing, people that were in Hurricane Helene. So,
well, I'm thankful for people like you and Sergeant Barrett, who have dedicated their lives and being the people that we need here in America. You're the people. It reminds me of a quote by Mr. Rogers. I grew up watching Mr. Rogers, and he talks about, look for the helpers. Look for the helpers, and you are one of the helpers, and Sergeant Barrett is one of the helpers, and especially right now with Sergeant Barrett being in Tennessee helping with the relief efforts from the hurricane. There's several people that we can say just look for the helpers, and it's hit our state, our northwest part of our state. Your daughter goes to college right there in Boone, and I've got friends that live in Boone and Crossnor and that area there. Newland up by Linville Falls. So I've got 2 cousins that live in the mountains up there that were not directly affected like most, but was in some of that. So thankfully they're okay, and they're doing okay. But some people were not. Some people lost their lives, and that's very hard to see happen and hear. And of course, my church and several churches here in the area have donated efforts and time to go work in that. But I'm thankful for our military. I have a respect for our military, and I'm thankful for that. And, and I'm not trying to.
But if you knew the military.
I know. But still, it's heroic what you guys do. Not anybody can do that job. Not just anybody can do that job. So
it was a love-hate relationship. I'm not going to lie. I absolutely loved it, but there were days that I'm like, what in the world am I still doing here? If it made sense to the Army, it didn't to us, but if it made sense to us, the Army's like, no, we're not doing it. So it's just one of those crazy things.
Looking to see who all is on here. Ted said he could barely speak English. So that's me. I could barely speak my own language. We've got several people that's been watching. Hey, guys, it's nice to see y'all. We're glad to have you on board. We are going to get ready to wrap up because we have gone over 37 minutes past our hour.
I'm having fun.
But my question is to the good people that are out there watching, would you watch a podcast that's longer than an hour? Can you stay engaged past an hour? And if so, what kind of topics would you like to hear about Eric and I talk about to keep you engaged? I'm curious to see what people want to hear us talk about. So if you're watching this, and you've got a question for Eric when it comes to landscaping or contracting work or business in general, or even for me, or relationship wise, whatever those are, if you've got something you want to ask, put it in the chat here on this video. Even when we shut this video off, it's going to post and people can go back and rewatch. So leave comments and let us know what you want to hear us talk about. That would be fun for us to have some topics that people want to listen to. Got some questions, maybe we can answer it. But there again, we're here every Monday night from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock. Tonight we're over because we were just having fun tonight, and
you
we're
know
on
what?
Facebook.
And there was no promptu. There were no planning it.
No, we just had fun with it tonight.
And it's just like when I lecture at the college. If I go in with a prepared lecture and I've got all my notes and I'm like, yes, I'm going to rock it today. Like I'm done in 30 minutes and I have a 4-hour lab. But if I go in there and I'm talking about what it is to be, in the field, in the green industry, and give life experiences, the 4 hours is up and over, like quickly. And my students are like really engaged because I'm telling true life stories instead of reading from a PowerPoint.
You want it to be
like
relevant. You want to be relatable. And it's the same, I've sang in groups for most of my life, and I traveled with a gospel group for 10 years. And there really is a connection that you've got to have with the audience. You've got to create that connection. So we want to create that connection with these guys. So give us a shout out. Tell us what you'd like to hear us talk about, and we'll do it. One last plug before we go. I will say that Eric's company, that Elite Landscape, is looking for workers. They have plenty of work, so there will never be any downtime for sure. But they're looking for someone to come work with them. It is landscape design crew, and then your Christmas light crew. They right now, it is a hot season for Christmas lights, and they need the extra help, and therefore they also need the landscape design.
So if you're good on a roof, or you're good in an aerial lift, which we got, and we do a lot of our roof lines with the lift, give us a shout, 336-414-9719, 336-414-9719. And like I said, we got some landscape jobs on the books that we're trying to get done very, very quickly. So, even if it's just part-time, you just want, something to do or whatever, but we can make that happen.
Yeah, for sure. Hit Eric up. He'll talk to you. We got one guest here that's commented, Costas. He says, hello, guys.
Costas and Menegakis.
Nice to see you, Costas. Glad to have you on board. We've just been hanging out. We're doing our podcast, and we're live on the radio every Monday night. So tonight we thought we would add another component with Facebook Live. So this is airing live from Boots on Ground radio page. Of course, my private page and your private personal page.
And we just decided to do it via the phone. We can hook up the cameras to the Roadcaster, and we wouldn't even have to have that. We could have the big camera sitting up here.
We can really get real professional if we wanted to. But
now that Jared walked in,
I know my son Jared and hey, Sierra is here. She's back there in the back somewhere. She asked to get on here live, and we were like, I don't know about that.
I was just afraid she's going to say some stuff like that. What
our kids are going to say?
But what about poor Sydney? What she heard coming home that way?
Oh my goodness! just don't.
I'm not going.
I lost all my dignity that day.
Sydney just looked at me
several times in this relationship. I've lost my dignity.
And I lost it last night talking about ice cream.
Oh my goodness! Goodness gracious! Well, it's fun. It's a pleasure doing life with you and our crew. We have a good time.
And I was sitting there thinking about it because, it was your two boys. Sierra was the only one with us. Poor Summer came to the house, and
we were gone.
We were gone, and I feel so bad. Because
you had your phone on silent. You're bad like me. During work hours, I turn my ringer off because I don't want that interrupting my work day. And it's the same with you when you're in the classroom. Because Eric, most of you, I don't know if y'all know this, but he is the chair for the horticulture department at Forsyth Tech. He's over that whole sector
all the
there.
Construction trades.
Yeah, so you're over all of that. But he's also professor at the college, so that's what he does outside of Elite Landscaping and his turf teacher. So you are a very, very busy man. But we tend to turn our ringers off, and sometimes we forget. This morning, I had forgotten my ringer was off, and my son called me 11 times, and I didn't even know the phone was ringing. I was like, oh my gosh, I totally did not hear my phone ringing. And we live in a day where my pastor brought this up yesterday, we don't have landlines anymore. Everybody has a cell phone, and there's no purpose of having a line.
I still have a landline.
You do. It rang just a little bit ago, and it was a spam risk. But that's the downside. And this is something I've learned. Of course, phones now have become a lot more sophisticated, but there for a while, I used to work for a telecommunications company in their sales department. I've been in sales all my life, basically, but we learned that cellular use did not have a accurate 911 location, but a landline does. And so a lot of our older customers that didn't know really how to use a cell phone at the time had a landline. And so if you called 911 from that landline number, it had the accurate address. Cell phones, it was basically from whatever tower it was pinging from. I think now, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, and I haven't had time to research it, but now there's a lot more accuracy with the cell pull data to pinpoint where you are. So that was something I learned back in my telecommunications day. But yeah, it's been a pleasure. I've enjoyed talking to you guys, following and seeing who's commented and who's joined, and it's been fun. So maybe next week we can incorporate FaceTime and see what happens again next week.
Yeah, would be cool.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
That would be fun. Well, if you're listening live on bootsongroundradio.com, it has been a pleasure. And if you're on Facebook, same as well.
I think the Facebook has helped the radio.
I've enjoyed it because it gives us an opportunity to interact live time with other people and not just you and I interacting by ourselves on a podcast. It's been fun. It's been fun.
Oh, my goodness.
I've enjoyed it.
All right, ladies. You ready to end this, or you want to?
I don't know. Is there anything else we want to talk about?
I don't know. It's up to you.
Well, we had some people ask us questions earlier. I asked you how your Monday went.
Oh, yeah.
You didn't really ask me how my Monday went.
I mean, wow. I'm sorry, babe. I'm sorry.
How was your Monday? You already knew.
I knew, but I should have asked everybody else. I know you got to hang out with Amy this morning. So.
I did. Amy's one of my best close friends. We've done a lot together the past year. And she was in town today, and we got to hook up. Oh, my goodness. I have to tell what happened this morning. So I meet Amy at Starbucks on University. We're sitting there having coffee, and all of a sudden we hear screeching and people screaming and hollering. Of course, my anxiety goes through the roof. I'm like, what the heck is happening? Because everybody's running, screaming, hollering. I'm like, oh, my gosh, what is going on? And where we were sitting, we were not directly in front of the window, but we were like a table back. And the way that the ground was elevated, you could just see tops of cars. And then all of a sudden, as soon as I stood up, I could see everything. And it freaked me out. So this poor gentleman, older gentleman, he had on a military hat of some sort. I couldn't see him because he's a little bit outside the window. Looked like he might have been in his early 70s maybe, driving a Dodge Charger. Cool-looking car. Don't know what happened, but all I know is what I could see is he come off of University and never stopped. Like, he gunned it to get around somebody and got stuck and lost control and hit two cars in the park. If he hadn't hit the two cars in the parking lot, he would have went through the building. And here, me and Amy are sitting there. Thankfully, the two cars stopped him, and he tore those cars up pretty good. And kind of find out the two cars that he hit were Starbucks employee cars. Yeah. These poor girls, I felt so bad for them. They were so like, that's my car. I mean, I can understand. I would feel that way too. But thankfully, nobody got hurt. They did take the older gentleman off by ambulance. He did have his hand bandaged up with a lot of blood coming from his hands. I think maybe some glass or something cut him. But I'm just glad that everybody was okay. Safe. But yeah, it was pretty dramatic this morning. Like, you just don't never know what's going to happen. Here we are sitting there having coffee. Next thing I know, we're looking at a car coming towards the building, and thankfully the two cars that was parked out front stopped it. And
that proves that you don't know what you're going to face any morning.
No, you
that
don't.
You wake up.
You don't.
You don't know if tonight. We don't know if tonight's going to be the last night we go to bed.
Well, my pastor brought that up yesterday in the sermon that life is but a vapor. Yep. You really don't know what tomorrow's going to hold.
There was a family at the church that lost
their son.
Lost their son that went downtown over the weekend.
I don't know what happened, but was downtown.
Beat to death.
Yeah, got beat to death and passed away, and that's just sad. I hate to hear that.
Yep.
But no, and like I said about you, I mean, you're a miracle sitting here. Thankfully, Sergeant Barrett saved you. Same with Russ. Yep. My mom had a heart attack. It'll be 3 years this December. She flatlined for 11 minutes. And I remember standing outside a Baptist hospital when they pulled up with her, and me and my dad was in the pulpit. He was preaching, and I wasn't answering his phone. Obviously, he was in the pulpit. And I called and called. I ended up calling several people. Finally got a hold of somebody that would go get him out of the pulpit. And because my mom had called me, and then the next phone call I got, it was the EMS worker had called me from her phone and said, you need to get to the hospital ASAP. So I got my dad out of the pulpit. My family, we were at our church, and so we're all coming from different directions trying to get to the hospital. And I remember Terry, he's still friends with me on Facebook. He just retired. He was one of the EMS workers, and he saved my mom's life. I could be sitting here telling a different story about my mom, but it just wasn't her time to go. God was not ready to take her home.
Yeah.
But I'm thankful that he let her stay here with us. And, You just never know. You never know. And that brief moment this morning, seeing that car coming towards the building, that was a freaky moment. But, thankfully nobody was hurt. But that was my Monday. I mean, literally within just a few seconds, it could have been a very different story. Yeah.
True.
Very different story. But thankfully nobody was hurt. I'm fine. Nobody got hurt. He never came through the building. Thankfully, there was 2 cars there that stopped him, but he tore those cars up pretty bad, and I felt bad for the Starbucks employees. Their cars looked pretty bad. I felt bad for them, but that was.
But that's what insurance is for.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you've got to make sure you've got insurance. And coming from a former insurance agent, make sure you have your policies up to date and accurate. Make sure that you not only have comp and collision on your car if it's eligible. Some companies will have stipulations if it's over certain many years, or the body, it's got to look a certain way. But make sure you have rental and towing on your policy, or else you're going to pay it out of pocket.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
True.
So
now, but the Starbucks employees, his insurance will be taking care of it because he's the one that hit them. So
yeah. Well, and I did hear the Starbucks manager, I heard her in passing. She was walking past me with one of the girls that got her car hit. And she said, because you were on premises at Starbucks, they were going to have to file something with Starbucks, and it could possibly Starbucks insurance pay because they were an employee of Starbucks. And this happened in the Starbucks parking lot. So that could be another aspect of insurance. Sure. Claim coming out too, because I heard the manager say something about something that's interesting, their commercial insurance. So I'd be curious to see that young lady will end up with a new car. I mean, she just will. It was her front end, the way that he hit it pushed her car between a tree and the Starbucks sign, and it was totaled on both ends. The other girl's car was mashed up against the yellow barriers there, and it was all tore up. So I felt bad for those girls. I know what that feels like. When my car broke down on me in July when the motor blew. I mean, I have a brand new 2024 Chevrolet Trax. Shouldn't have been anything wrong with it. Come to find out, there was a recall on the engine on my car, and it did exactly what the recall was. It had something with the compression rate. It has that auto start, so something about compression rate didn't match up, and it threw the valves or the engine out of order, out of sync, and it threw a rod. And my car was toast. I mean, it literally sounded like somebody put spoons or silverware in a garbage disposal in the sink. That's what my car sounded like. It freaked me out. And there was oil everywhere. I'm like, my car's gone, brand new. I'm still paying for this car. I'm like, I'm paying car payments. It's brand new. I shouldn't be having this issue. But kind of found out it was a recall. So Chevrolet paid to have everything. And that was a God moment. I was like, God, you're just going to have to really show me what you're going to do, because I can't afford to fix this. It took them 3 months. I just got my car back. I got my car back the Friday before we went to Expo. So I've had it less than 2 weeks. Less than 2 weeks. So it's been fun.
It has.
Well, babe, I'm going to pass it on over to you.
Yeah, we've got 2 people on Facebook watching.
It's time to go.
It is. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us here on Boots on Ground Radio. We will see you next Monday. We're going to get all these episodes edited and put up on all the platforms. So anyway, guys, take care. I will see you in the next lecture, as the old turf teacher says. And you can give your goodbyes.
We're going to sign out.
All right, guys, take care.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Love you all.
And I love you.
I love you.
Bye, everybody.